Former NFL safety Brock Vereen talking about the Browns' defense and what he expects to see in 2025.
It's Jim Schwartz, and they're going to find a way. You flirt with Myles Garrett, or Myles Garrett's flirting with leaving, begging to leave, and then you give him a check that he can't refuse. That's always going to help. They bring over Joe Tryon-Shoyinka from Tampa Bay, who was overshadowed in Tampa Bay. I feel he's going to establish himself. The issue is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah placed on PUP. He had that scary lower neck, high back injury, and he's not going to play this year. Obviously, that's a huge issue and a bigger issue than just this season. Hopefully, he can live a fulfilling life if he needs to call it, or if he does come back, make sure it's time to come back and not rush anything. But rookie Carson Swessinger, I have him coming out of UCLA and immediately taking the place. Carson Swessinger is going to turn heads. I thought he was a first-round linebacker. I thought the only better linebacker than him was Jihad Campbell, and I'm shocked that both of them slipped, but I'm shocked that Carson slipped to the second round, and this is a DB room that is phenomenal. Veteran guys, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, a bunch of first-round guys who can absolutely ball. Is Cleveland going to win a lot of games? No. Is Cleveland going to cause mayhem and make sure your offense doesn't score a lot of points even if you beat them? Yes.
Tim, it's kind of interesting. If the defense causes a lot of mayhem and doesn't allow an offense to score a lot of points, the Browns will have a chance to win games because I think they'll run the football a little bit better. But I digress. I think this defense is going to be really good.
Yeah, certainly. I feel like 2024 might be, more of an aberration than 2023 was when they were so good defensively, and then 2024 they took this massive step back to being 27th in the league defense. And I've said it before that I feel like so much of the problem in 2024 from a defensive perspective was just the fact that their offense spent so little time on the field. They kept, having to go three. They kept going 3 and out. They kept turning the ball over. Even looking at, Pro Football Reference, they were 21st in the league in average time per drive on offense. They turned the ball over so much. 34 turnovers on offense. They could not score, dead last in scoring. In today's NFL, you have to be able to score, and when you're asking your defense to hold teams to 17 or under on a regular basis, especially considering the caliber of quarterback they played last season when they played 3 teams that were in the conference championship games, playing Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I mean, you're going to struggle naturally. I mean, those are more quality quarterbacks than the Browns saw in 2023. But bottom line, I said it before, yeah, if the offense can at least be solid, if they can get points, if they can shorten the game and protect the football, I think this defense by proxy is going to look a lot better because it's just so much easier to play defense when you have a lead. It's much easier to pass rush when offenses have to pass versus when they can at least show the idea that maybe they're going to run the football if it's a tie game or if they're winning. And defense becomes much better when you can make an offense more predictable. The best way to do that, put some scoreboard pressure on. It comes down to their offense being able to produce to help out the defense.
So when you think of a Jim Schwartz defense prior to the last 2 seasons with the Browns, there's always been a defensive tackle that just gets in the backfield and just makes it difficult. Browns haven't had that. You've got Mason Graham now. You've got Michael Hall Jr., who was banged up, and you've got Malik Collins. Do you think Jim Schwartz finally has the weapon that he wants at defensive tackle?
Certainly, he's got a multiple amount of guys who have the potential to be that. And I mean, even looking back through, Jim Schwartz's history of defensive tackles, you go all the way back to his days in Tennessee. Albert Haynesworth was just such a dominant player for him in Tennessee. Then, when he was the head coach of the Lions, he had Ndamukong Suh. Then with the Eagles, when they won a Super Bowl, Fletcher Cox was a star in the interior of that defensive line. So yeah, you look at what they have in the middle. Certainly, you hope Michael Hall Jr. can get healthy and look like the guy he was becoming at the end of the season, which was a pretty darn good player. You saw a lot of a lot of intriguing plays by him. He's starting to flash more. I think he was a guy that, like most defensive tackles getting drafted, needs a little time to get, adjusted to the NFL. Defensive tackle is not a position you can really just jump in and be a star from day one. It's just so hard to do that, which is why I kind of want to I would temper my expectations for Mason Graham. If he goes out, starts, and has a really good season, I think that'd be more the aberration than the norm. And Malik Collins, this was a guy, I think this signing just flew completely under the radar. It's easy to forget this guy has been a solid contributor throughout his NFL career. So between those three guys, you have enough talent, I think, on the defensive interior, not to mention Jawan Briggs, the 7th-round pick last year, who I thought, looked pretty solid by the end of the season. Certainly in his own right, looks like a guy who can be a rotational guy throughout the life of a rookie contract. If those guys can perform to the level I think you kind of expect them to be, all of a sudden you have a real good interior defensive line that can really benefit with so much attention being placed on Myles Garrett.